After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC. And he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions, and after learning those tips I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest. This is the chart of a female. I'm not going to tell the details more than this. She was born in 1980, and as of now, as of last month, that is June 2017, she's unmarried. That means if you look at it, she completed her 36th birthday, and now the 37th year is running. So until now she did not get married, even though she and her parents had tried their best. None of the alliances were successful. So I took this opportunity, and I'm trying to analyze in detail in all the possible ways, using to the best of my knowledge, find out the reason why this native is not getting married even at the age of 36 or after completing 36 years. Here, when I look at it, the beautiful part that I noticed is in this chart, without looking anything further, second, third, fourth, and fifth houses, all the houses, that's all. The planets that you have occupied all these houses. So from the fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say from sixth house all the way till the 12th house, till first house, it is empty. No major planets are there. With the assumption that Rahu and Ketu, I did not consider them as major planets because they are the true node. They are the shadows of moon. Now another thing is, another important thing that I noticed here is Saturn and Jupiter are co-joined. So that means, according to Bhrigu Chakra Padathi, they have to do something that pertains to the bhava of Aries or Mesha. Here for this native, it is the 9th house, Dharmasthanamo and Bhagyasthanamo. So the Dharmasthanamo got spoiled, the Bhagyasthanamo got spoiled. That's another thing. Next, Saturn, wherever it resides, it spoils the house next to its natal position. Where here Venus, the natural Karaka for marriage for both men and women, and what is this? Libra. Libra is a natural 7th house. It got spoiled. And Venus, the lord of the natural 7th house, is residing in a spoiled house. Again, next, Saturn's third aspect is on the 4th house from Rashi Lagna. 4th house is very important because in this house there are 3 major planets. Very important planets are here in 3 houses. The first one is Sun, the Lagnadipati. The second one is Mercury, the house of the lord of 2nd and 11th houses. 2nd house is Kutumbasthanamo and the 11th house is Kamasthanamo. Then Moon, Matrukaraka, and Moon is the lord of the 12th house. So when you look at it, the 3 important planets residing in an important house, all the house and these planets are all getting Saturn's is aspecting the house. 4th house, the important house is the 4th house, and the planet in that 4th house. So 2nd house, the third house, the fourth house. See how Saturn is ruling a native. And from Rashi Lagna, Saturn is the lord of the seventh house. There you go. So second, third, fourth, seventh, it has full control on it. 8 and then 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. So overall, in this chart, without going further detail, what I noticed is two things I noticed. Number one, all the planets are in between second house and the fifth house, and Rahu, and they are between the axis of Rahu and Ketu. So some people call it as Kala Sharpa Dosha, some people call it as Kala Sharpa Yoga, whatever it is. This native is having Kala Sharpa. That means Rahu residing in the 12th house will create the havoc in pertaining to the 12th house, which is the pleasures of bed when you look from the marital life. And Saturn, being the 7th house lord, is not only controlling the 7th house and the second house where it is residing, it spoiled the third house, that being the third house being the house next to its natal residence, and it has a third aspect on the fourth house. And then I'm just trying to summarize the chart. From natal moon, Mars is in the second house. That is a part of Kuja dosha. That's another Kuja dosha. There are a number of Kuja doshas, and this is one of those two. And then Mars is the 9th house lord, lagna, dharmasthanadipati, and Saturn and Jupiter have spoiled the dharmasthanamo here. Overall, this particular native chart is so complicated, whether you look from the marital life or you want to look for the financial status of this native. Primarily, the Saturn and Jupiter combination has spoiled the 9th house, which is the Dharmasthanamo and Bhagyasthanamo. So let's go in detail and look at this chart. Let's start analyzing this chart first with Rashi Lagna. Means I use, because the native is a female, I use Rashi Lagna, Chandra Lagna, and Karaka for marriage is Jupiter for female. So Jupiter as Lagna. Let's go and start with Rashi Lagna. Rashi Lagnadipati is Sun. So the second house lord is Mercury. And in second house you see Saturn and Jupiter residing. And the second house lord Mercury is residing in the fourth house. Fine. Next comes the fourth house. The fourth house lord is Mars. You see here. And Mars is residing in the fifth house. And the planets residing in the fourth house are Sun, Moon and Mercury. Wow. Fifth house. Jupiter is the lord of the fifth house. Mars is residing in fifth house. And Jupiter, the lord, is residing in the second house. This is very important. If Jupiter is alone, assume that he did not join with Saturn for time being. If Jupiter is alone, then you can clearly say, you can blindly say that this guy Jupiter is sure to make the native get married when transit Jupiter is any of these important houses pertaining to marital life. That means had Jupiter been alone and transit Jupiter is in 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 11th or 12th houses, then the native would have got married. Now that Jupiter co-joined with Saturn, two big planets being co-joining, it's like a clash of titans. Each planet is trying to figure it out who is the Graha Yuddha. It's like a Graha Yuddha. By default, in Graha Yuddha, any planet that have a Yuddha with Saturn is the default winner. So all other planets being small, and when they co-join with Saturn being the winner, they just keep quiet. But Jupiter, which is almost another big planet, tries to resist the winning of Saturn, and that is one reason why when Jupiter and Saturn are co-joined in the same house, it's always they create a lot of hurdles to the native in different parts of life or different ways of life. Sorry, I just crossed that to talk to something different. Now we go back to the 5th, 6th, 7th house. The Lord is Saturn, is the Lord of the 7th house, and we know that Saturn is in 2nd house. This is a very important 7th house Lord residing in 2nd house. Unfortunately, it is Saturn. That's okay. And then 11th house. Mercury is again the Lord of the 11th house, and we know that in the 11th house we don't have anything. Actually, you know what? In 11th house we don't have anything. This is none. Yes, none. So planets, none. There aren't anything in the, and Mercury is in the 4th house. The 12th house Lord is Moon, the Matrukaraka. It's very, very positive. See that Matrukaraka is the Lord of the 12th house, which is the pleasures of bed, and the Matrukaraka is residing in the 4th house, Sukhasthanamu, and co-join with the 2nd house Lord and the 1st house Lord. Basically, the position of Moon is very, very beautiful. Unfortunately, in the 12th house, what you see is Rahu. Yes, that's a drawback, because in any house that Rahu resides, there's a high possibility for that house characters to be in ups and downs. They're high. Like sometimes you will go, it will be positive, sometimes it will be negative. And Moon is residing in the 4th house. So overall, what you can see is that none of the planets, when you look from Rashi Lagna, are in a strong position for the native to have a marital life. After completing the analysis of the D1 chart, the Rashi chart with Rashi Lagna, let us go and analyze the same chart with Chandra Lagna. So the Lagna is Moon, wherever the natal Moon is there, that is the 1st house. So Sun and Mercury are residing in the 1st house. Wow, that's good. And they are having a direct aspect on the 7th house. The 7th house Lord is Venus, residing in 12th house. Wow, that's another good point here. So from Moon perspective, that means from the native's mind perspective, the native is mentally prepared and willing to get married. That's a very important thing. First you have to see is Rashi Lagna tells you the destiny, and Chandra Lagna tells you how is your mind behaving. Here the mind is accepting that the native wants to get married and have a family. That's good. Now from Moon, let's go and start looking at the important houses. 2nd house. The Lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is residing in the 11th house, and planet Mars is residing in the 2nd house. That's it. That is the another negative part when it comes to marital life for this native. From Moon, Mars is in the 2nd house. That is a part of the Kuja dosha. 2nd house in general deals with Kutumbasthanamo. Remember from Rashi Lagna, 2nd house, Saturn is residing, spoiling the 2nd house. And from Chandra Lagna, Mars is residing in the 2nd house, which is creating a Kuja dosha, indicating that whether you look from Chandra Lagna or Rashi Lagna, 2nd house is highly volatile. 2nd house is Kutumbasthanamo. This tells you that there is either a delay in the marriage, that there is some sort of a delay for this native to start a family, or if the native gets married at an early age, then there is some sort of a problems might exist in the native's family environment, family life, family environment, or Kutumbasthanam means in the families. So let's go to the next one, is the 4th house. Saturn is the Lord of the 4th house. Fortunately, the 4th house is empty, and Saturn is residing in the 11th house. Next is the 5th house, Jupiter. Jupiter is the Lord of the 5th house. 5th house is also empty. See, there's no strength in the houses. The 2nd house, you see Mars that created Kuja dosha. Now, anything strong in the 4th house? Nothing. Anything strong in the 5th house? None. Then anything strong in the 7th house? None. And the 5th house Lord is Jupiter is residing in the 11th house, and the 7th house Lord Venus is residing in the 12th house. 11th house deals with desires, Kamasthanamo. So, with Saturn and Jupiter residing in the 11th house, Saturn controlling the 11th house. Remember, if the 11th house is occupied by malefics or have a direct aspect of by a malefic, then there is a high possibility for the native to have a lack of desires or kamasthanamo. So lack of desire. And now Saturn is residing in the 11th house from moon. It spoils the 12th house, the pleasures of bed. So when you look from Chandra Lagna, the second house got spoiled. The 11th house, 7th, 4th, 5th and 7th houses are empty. The 11th house is occupied by a malefic planet, and Saturn is spoiling the 12th house, so the 12th house got spoiled. So from Chandra Lagna, even though the native is willing to get married, the other planets, important planets, are not at all supporting the native to get married. As I said earlier, when I was not comfortable that the native, if I don't see any positive of conditions or situations, planetary combinations pertaining to marital life in D1 chart with Rashi Lagna and Chandra Lagna, and if the native is a female, then I go to the Jupiter as a natal position of Jupiter as the first house, or Jupiter being the Karaka for marriage for women. I go to the natal position of Jupiter, consider it as a first house or Lagna, and then try to see, does the Karaka is strong enough to at least give some opportunity for the native to get married. Here Jupiter is the Karaka, so let's go and look at Jupiter. Wherever Jupiter is residing, that's the first house, and wherever Jupiter is residing in Mercury, the house owned by Mercury, which is the Virgo. So Jupiter is in first house, and Jupiter's direct aspect is on the 7th house. The positive side here is from Jupiter. Jupiter is the lord of the 4th and 7th houses, and Jupiter is residing in the first house. That means Jupiter individually, Jupiter is very, very strong when it comes to marital life. Unfortunately, Jupiter is co-joined with the 6th house lord Saturn, and Saturn is also having a direct aspect on the 7th house. Thus, not only that Saturn has spoiled by co-joining with Jupiter, it has also spoiled the Jupiter's house 7th, the most important part. The next one is with Jupiter as the Lagna, the second, and Jupiter and Saturn residing in the first house, for sure, because Jupiter is co-joined with Saturn, for sure they both spoil the house next to their natal residence, which is the second house here. Remember, from Rashi Lagna, the second house got spoiled because Saturn and Jupiter are residing there. From Chandra Lagna, the second house, Mars is residing in the 7th house from natal moon, from Chandra Lagna. So it is a Kuja dosha. So it indicates that there will be disputes in the family environment had the native got married. Now from the Jupiter as the Lagna, again you see the second house got spoiled, where the second house Lord Venus is also residing there. So it's that Saturn not only spoiled the second house, it also spoiled the owner of the house, Venus. So I don't think you need to go any more further to see, because Saturn co-joined with Jupiter in the first house has spoiled the 7th house. Saturn has residing in the first house has spoiled the second house, and the second house Lord Venus is already residing in the second house. As if this is not sufficient, Saturn residing in the first house, the third aspect is on the third house, where you have Sun, Moon and Mercury. Now let's go and see. With Jupiter as Lagna, Mercury is the Lagnadipati. That means Saturn has afflicted the Lagnadipati. With Jupiter as Lagna, natal position of Jupiter as Lagna, Sun is the lord of the 12th house, the pleasures of bed. So Saturn has afflicted the planet that is responsible for pleasures of bed. And with Saturn, with the moon being the lord of the 11th house, Kamasthana Adipati, Saturn has afflicted moon. So the Kamasthana Adipati got afflicted. And above all, if you look at it from Jupiter, in the 11th house, Rahu is residing. Rahu is in the 11th house from Jupiter. That means the Kamasthanam or the house of desires got spoiled again. So from Rashi Lagna, from Chandra Lagna, and from Jupiter as the Karaka, being the Karaka for marriage for women, and Jupiter as the natal position of Jupiter as Lagna. From all the three charts, what I noticed is that the most important houses pertaining to marital life are spoiled. And that might be one of the reasons why the native was not, even though the native was mentally prepared to get married and the native was trying her best to find an alliance, she's not successful as of now, is primarily because of these three, all these reasons that I have mentioned above. Now that our primary intention, actually the one and only one intention, is to look for the possibility for this native to get married. So what I did is I took the Rashi and Navamsha chart and overlapped for this native to see what is when these two get overlapped, are there any positive and negative vibes between these two charts. First and the foremost, in Rashi Lagna, what I noticed is the Lagnadipati is Sun, who is residing in the 4th house, and the Lagnadipati Sun co-joined with Mercury, the 2nd house lord, and Moon, the 12th house lord in Rashi Lagna, and Moon is the Matrukaraka. So Sun, from this angle, Sun is the Lagnadipati is perfectly cooperating for the ability for the native to get married. That means from the native's perspective, there are no issues. The native is willing, at any given time, the native is willing to get married. So now go to the next part is the Lagna, Navamsha. In Navamsha, Lagna is Virgo, and in Lagna, Mercury and Mars are residing. So what Mercury and Mars are doing in Navamsha is they are co-joining in the 2nd house of the Rashi Lagna, where Jupiter and Saturn are residing. So here in 2nd house of the native in Rashi Lagna, Saturn is a malefic residing in the 2nd house. Now when you overlap it with the Navamsha chart, you see Mars, another malefic, is now joining the 2nd house of the Rashi Lagna. That means the 2nd house is Kutumba Sthanam. So that means the Kutumba Sthanam became is highly afflicted. Just keep in mind that. The second, in the Navamsha, Sun is the 12th house lord, which is the which deals with pleasures of bed, and the Sun is the Lagnadipati in Rashi Lagna. So in Navamsha chart, let's go and see where is Sun residing. Sun is residing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the 5th house from Navamsha Lagna, and the 5th house lord is Saturn. And guess what happened here? The Sun is co-joined with Rahu, another malefic here. And when you overlap the D1 chart with the D9 chart, the most unfortunate part that you are seeing here is the Rahu in D1 chart is having a direct aspect with Rahu in the D9 chart. You can see it over here. And also Rahu in the D1 chart is having a direct aspect on Sun in D9 chart. Sun is the 12th house lord in D9 and Sun is the 1st house lord in D1. So, and Sun is residing in D4 in house 4, 4th house in D1 and the 5th house in D9. So the Sun, the most important planet, got afflicted. So anything, the possibility, if there is any, will be minimized because of this impact. Now let's go and see like what are the other planets that are co-joining. If when I look at it, I do not see anything major that is co-joining except 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Except when you look at it in Rashi Lagna, the Sun is in Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Mercury. Remember I told you that Sun, Moon and Mercury joining in any house is very positive for this native at that point. But when you look at it, Sun, Moon and Mercury in Rashi Lagna are having a direct aspect on Saturn and Jupiter and Venus in Navamsha chart. That's a very another drawback that Sun became further weakened. The first way, it in Navamsha chart it co-joined with Rahu, and they having a direct aspect of Rahu on the D1 chart. That's one way. The another way is in D1 the Sun is having a direct aspect of with the Saturn and Venus and Jupiter in Navamsha chart. So when you look at this, it's clearly visible that the Sun, the Lagnadipati, lost all his charm to help the native to get married, because even though it is powerful in D1 chart, when the D9 chart got overlapped, that particular Sun became very afflicted. So let's go and see, like, because of this, the only way for the native to get married is to look at the transit planets and see, is there a way for any of the transit planets, particularly Saturn, because Saturn is the lord of the 7th house in Rashi Lagna, and so we have to see how is Saturn, transit Saturn doing for this native. Here comes the most important thing. This is the first step that I do before I even go into any Dasa systems and analyze the Dasa system. First and foremost I do is I go to the Bhrigu Chakra Padathi and see from the once the native attains 23rd, once the native completes the 23rd birthday, from that point till the native completes 37th birthday. So Venus is a cycle ruler and Sun is the cycle ruler for this native. So I just try to see, is there a way for the Venus to help to get this done. When you look at Venus, I'm going to explain more in detail why Venus, actually I did it, yeah I did it. So Venus is not at all helpful for the native to get married, and I will be explaining in the when the Vimsottari Dasa comes, when I explain the Vimsottari Dasa, or I might have explained it earlier. I don't know exactly which way it is going, but when you look at Mercury, first of all, you look at Mercury. Mercury activates the 12th house from its natal position. We know Mercury is in the 4th house. From 4th house, the 12th house is the 3rd house, and 3rd house is where Venus is residing. So something should have happened between 2003 and 2004 pertaining to the native's marital the event, native's ability to get married, but it did not work out. And the reason why it did not work out is because when Mercury activates the 3rd house, which is the 12th house from its natal position, 3rd house is already spoiled. Saturn and Jupiter residing in the 2nd house spoils the 3rd house. So Mercury is activating a spoiled house. That means the activation won't be powerful. Venus is residing in that house, and Venus, the Karaka for marriage for both men and women, even though it's residing in its own house, and that being, it is not able to activate the event. So Mercury couldn't do anything and Venus could not do anything. Another thing is, during this period between 2003 and 2004 December, Mercury activates the 12th house from the Rashi Lagna. So in the 12th house from Rashi Lagna is Moon. Moon is the Lagnadipati, Rashi 12th house lord, and Moon is co-joined with Mercury. So we can expect like something should have happened there. But even whatever has happened was not successful, because when you go and look at the 12th house, what you see is Rahu there. Rahu creates hurdles in whichever house he resides. So 12th house, pleasures of bed. So naturally he created hurdles so that they need to, that particular part of the pleasures of bed the day could not achieve those. And when I overlap D1 chart with the D9 chart, what I found out is that the Rahu in the D9 chart is having a direct aspect with Rahu in the D1 chart. That means in D9 chart, Rahu is looking at the 12th house in D1 chart. That, see, when you look at it, the 12th house from Rashi Lagna could not get activated because not only that Rahu is residing there, but the D9 Rahu in the D9 chart is having a direct aspect on the 12th house in D1 chart. Thus, the native, first of all, for the whole life, the native, when it comes to the pleasures of bed, it is always a challenge for this native. So, by default, it's given. Now, let's go and look at the Venus cycle ruler. Venus cycle ruler is for 12 years, all the way from 2004 December till 2016 December. So, anyway, Venus, I already explained that it's worthless. In the chart, Venus became so weak that it cannot do anything all by itself. It needs a lot of help to do it. So when you look at Venus, there's a possibility between 2005 and 2006 December, Venus activates the second house from its natal position. That means the fourth house from Rashi Lagna here. And when you look at it, in fourth house, Sun, Mercury and Moon are residing. Good. You might have thought that, oh my gosh, this is all the most important planets are there. So when Venus activates the second house from Rashi Lagna, from its own natal position, after 25th birthday and before the 26th birthday, the native might have got married. But when you look at it, the unfortunate part here is Saturn's third aspect is on fourth house, because it is on second house. Second is the first house, third is the second house, fourth is the third house. Yeah, Saturn's third aspect is on the fourth house, where Sun, the most important planet, Lagnadipati, Moon, the 12th house lord, pleasures of bed, Mercury, the second house lord, Kutumbasthanadipati, are residing. So, apart from that, Saturn itself is residing in the Kutumbasthanamu, and Saturn is the 7th house lord. So, anything that Venus was trying to do, it couldn't do it. So we go all the way to November 2016, when the native completed her 36th birthday, and that is when Sun will activate in the house where it is residing. First house from Rashi Lagna. In D1 chart, Sun is the Lagnadipati. And so it is activating its own house, and Sun is residing in the fourth house, and it's activating the fourth house where it co-joined with Moon and Mercury. Unfortunately, it is having that the Saturn's third aspect is on Sun. That is the reason. And when you look at it in Vimsottari Dasa and Yogini Dasa, the Mahadasa is Sun. So there is a extremely slight possibility, very slight possibility for the native to get married before November 2017. This is, so when you look at it from Bhrigu Chakra Padathi, you can say that between 2016 November and 2017 November, based on the Vimsottari Dasa, Mahadasa being Sun, and the Yogini Mahadasa being Sun, and Sun is activating the first house, the Lagnadipati, and Sun is co-joined with Moon and Mercury, you can say that yes, there is a possibility. The only reason why this possibility, the chances gets reduced, is two reasons. Number one, Rahu is in the 12th house, the pleasures of bed, and Saturn is in the second house, Kutumbasthanamu, and Saturn's third aspect is again on Sun. So overall, Sun is the only one who can try to make this native get married, provided Saturn helps Sun. So it's very important now that we emphasize on Sun, because the Mahadasa is Sun running, and Saturn. Not only that Saturn is in second house and the lord of the 7th house, Saturn's cooperation is very is needed for this native to get married. So I will, down the road, I'm going to consider transit Saturn and see, is there a way this transit Saturn can help the native to get married. Let's go and start looking at the Vimsottari Dasa. The Vimsottari Dasa, when the Netu is eligible to get married, when the Netu has the proper age to get married, the Vimsottari Mahadasa is Venus. And it's all the way up to 2015, July 2015. After that came Sun Mahadasa. So in Venus Mahadasa, when you look at, so let's try to see what exactly is happening to this Venus. Venus, first of all, in Rashi Lagna, in Rashi chart, from Rashi Lagna, Venus is the third house lord, residing in third house. That's a very good sign. And Venus is also the 10th house lord. And Venus direct aspect is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is on the 9th house, Aries. Aries is the 9th house, or Mesha. It's the 9th house, and the 9th house is Dharmasthanamo. So Venus is directly looking at the Dharmasthanamo. Venus is the Mahadasadipati. So let's try to see why Venus did not help the Netu to get married. And now first and the foremost, what you see is Saturn is in the 2nd house. So there's a high possibility for the Saturn to spoil the house next to his residence. That is one of the Bhrigu Chakra Padathi rule. So Saturn has spoiled the 3rd house, and Venus is residing in a spoiled house. First, next, there is another rule that states that Jupiter, wherever Jupiter resides, it tries to destroy the bhava of the next house. That means Jupiter is also trying to spoil the 3rd house bhava, only the bhava, the characteristics of the 3rd house. But a spoiled house is where Venus is residing. So imagine when any planet is residing in the house that it is spoiled, some of the positive vibes for that the planet have gets reduced. And there's another Bhrigu Chakra Padathi rule which states that when Saturn and Jupiter are co-joined in any house, they will spoil the bhava of the Aries, whatever the house that Aries is. For this Netu, Aries or Mesha is the 9th house, that is the Dharmasthanamo and Bhagyasthanamo too. So for this Netu, the Dharmasthanamo and Bhagyasthanamo will get spoiled because Saturn and Jupiter are residing in the 2nd house, which is the Dhanasthanamo and Kutumbasthanamo. Overall, the Dhanasthanamo, Bhagyasthanamo, these two pertain to the financial status of the Netu. Kutumbasthanamo and Dharmasthanamo, the 9th house, these two pertains to the marital life for the Netu. So the financial life and the marital life, both when it comes to these two, the Netu will not be having any encouragement there. So the Dharmasthanamo is spoiled, the 9th house is spoiled, and Venus is residing in a spoiled house and having a direct aspect on the 9th house. That means the residing in a spoiled house and is having a direct aspect on a spoiled house indicates that this planet Venus has no strength to do something good for this Netu. Now the question comes is what good, which part, good in what sense? Like I said earlier, in the 2nd house, the Kutumbasthanamo, and in the 9th house is the Dharmasthanamo. That is the marital life. Kutumbasthanamo plus Dharmasthanamo is marital life. And again, in 2nd house is Dhanasthanamo, and the 9th house is Bhagyasthanamo. So Dhanasthanamo plus Bhagyasthanamo is equal to financial status. So during the whole Venus period, the Netu it will be a challenge for the Netu either to get married or to have a stable financial situation in her life. When you look at the Yogini Dasa, the Sun Mahadasa started in 1979 through 1981, and all the planets completed: Sun, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, Rahu, Moon, and again Sun. Sun again came in 2015 October and will stay till 2017 October. That is the 2 years. And so this is the period usually because Sun is the first house lord residing in the fourth house and co-joined with the Moon and Mercury, some of the important planets when it comes to the marital life, there is a possibility for the Sun to activate the event, the marriage event for this native. Will Sun be successful to activate this? That all depends on the transit planets, because the Dasa is willing to do it, but are the transit planets cooperating? And because this is because we are talking about marital life, you have to look at the D9 chart. In the D9 chart, the Navamsha chart, how is Sun positioned, and when you overlap D1 with the D9, what exactly is happening to this planet? The planet now is Sun. I'm only concerned about Sun because that is the Mahadasa that in this Yogini Dasa, that is the Mahadasa in Yogini Dasa until September 2010. We all know that transit Saturn is swinging between the Scorpio and Sagittarius right now in the year 2017. So that means it is going in the forward direction for some time and then in retrograde direction in some other time. So converting from forward direction to the retrograde direction or vice versa, for few hours or at least few days, transit Saturn will be in a stationary mode. So using J-Hora, what I did was I went to J-Hora and identified in the year 2017 when will transit Saturn be in a stationary mode. So according to J-Hora, I found that is on 25th August 2017. Forget about the time. So between 24th, 25th, 26th. So 3 days. So these are the 3 possible days when transit Saturn approaches to stationary and then starts its motion again. So I consider these 3 days while doing the transit Saturn analysis for this native. Here there is a strong reason for me to look at transit Saturn. When you look at the Rashi chart, Saturn is the 7th house lord and Saturn is residing in the 2nd house from Rashi Lagna. So I took transit Saturn and started analyzing it. Now let's go and look at what is the angle, inclination on that day, that is on 25th August 2017. Transit Saturn will be on a stationary, means when it is at 27 degrees Scorpio. In Scorpio, 27 degrees 04 minutes. So between 27 minus 5, 22. Between 22 degrees and 27, 29, 29, 30. Between 22 degrees and 30 degrees in Scorpio, what I did is, are there any planets with that inclination residing in Scorpio in D1, the Rashi chart, and D9, the Navamsha chart. The reason I took Navamsha chart is because we are discussing about the possibility for this female native to get married. So I went to D1 and D9. Here you can see that in D1, Scorpio, how many planets are there in Scorpio? Sun is in Scorpio at 22 degrees, Moon is in Scorpio at 24 degrees, Mars is in Scorpio at 18 degrees and Mercury is in Scorpio at 9 degrees in D1 chart. So when transit Saturn becomes stationary at 27 degrees in Scorpio, at the most, the impact will be on Sun and Moon, maximum impact. That is in D1 chart. So let's go to D1 chart and see what is Sun and Moon. What is the role of these 2 planets? When you go to D1 chart, Sun is the Lagnadipati, the 1st house lord. Wow. And Moon is the 12th house lord. 12th house lord means pleasures of bed. So where are they residing? They both are residing in Scorpio, and Scorpio is the 4th house, Sukhasthanamo or family environment. That tells you that when you look at the D1 chart on between 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, means plus or minus 4 days from 25th, that is from 21st till 30th of August, that whole week there is a high possibility, extremely high possibility for this native to get married, either to get married or get engaged and have a get her marriage date fixed or something like that. But the event is pertaining to the 7th house, is the marital life, marital life, something pertaining to marital life. Now let's go to D9. In D9, is there any planet in Scorpio? You see nothing in Scorpio. So transit Saturn impact is only on D1, that is self. So let's wait and see that what happens for this native during the last week of August, or will the native come across any of these marriage trials being successful or not. Let's wait and see. But another thing I want to look at it here is look at the Vimsottari Dasa. When transit Saturn is in stationary, that is in the month of the 4th week of August, Vimsottari Dasa, what you see, the Vimsottari Dasa is Sun is the Mahadasa, the 1st house lord residing in the 4th house. Jupiter is the Antardasa, and Jupiter again is the Pratyantara Dasa, and Jupiter is the 5th house lord residing in the 2nd house from Rashi Lagna. So Jupiter, the Karaka for marriage, is residing in 2nd house and a lord of the 5th house. Sun, the Lagnadipati, is residing in the 4th house. So this tells you that the Vimsottari Dasa is cooperating for when transit Saturn is in stationary, and when transit Saturn is activating Sun and Moon. So the most important thing we have to look here is what's going to happen during that 1 week period. That means from 21st August all the way till 30th August. Let's wait and see.